Hey guys, just I thought today my last class just didn't go so well. I had disruptions with Google and just a delay, and it just wasn't the most efficient. So, I think you would appreciate this if class today was kind of just watching a video. So I'll try to keep this to about 10, 12 minutes, somewhere in there. All right, and we'll definitely go over this more so tomorrow. Um, but here we go. Ready? So the next lesson that we have to go talk about is solving quadratic and linear systems, right? So we need to solve what is called a system of equations. And a system is anytime you're given two or more, okay? And what we're going to be presented with today is a quadratic, so a parabola, and then a linear system, which is just a straight line. There's basically three options here. The line can intersect the parabola at two different points, at one point, or maybe it doesn't intersect at all, in which case our answer would be no solution. Because our answers are the points in which these intersect one another. Okay? So here's how we'll do the problem. And I think just today, kind of take notes along with me. And tomorrow in class, kind of when we're together and hopefully live, as I'll be able to get back in the building, I'm assuming tomorrow, make things run a little smoother. I'll give you like a better list of steps in which you want to go about solving these problems. So what you want to do first is make sure that both equations that you're given are set equal to y. And if you remember anything from geometry, maybe you remember this, that a equals b and b equals c, then therefore a equals c, right? Because if they both equal to b, then a and c must be equal. So if both these equations here equal y, then the equations must be equal to one another, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set the quadratic equal to the line. We're going to group like terms together. So I'm going to add x. I'm going to add 2 to the other side. And make sure I get my equation set to 0. Okay. At this point, all right, because we're trying to solve for x, we're going to figure out using any one of the solving methods that you feel most comfortable with, but I'm going to probably just tell you that factoring is going to be the best bet. I'm going to factor this. And it helps that 2 and 5 are prime numbers because there's not many options if that's the case. I just need to figure out where the 2 goes and the 5. And let's see, we need to get a negative 3. So the 5 is going to be negative. The 1 would be positive. So at this point, I'll do a quick FOIL, right, just to make sure that I have factored correctly. And we're not done, right? We got to solve for x. So I would set each factor equal to 0. And I would say, all right, x is going to be 5 over 2. And x is going to be negative 1. Okay? Now that's not our answer here. Because as you saw from my graphs up above, is that our answers are intersection points, right? Points are made up of x and y. So once we find our x values, we then have to take these values and plug them in to either equation. Okay? And it would make more sense to plug it into this one because it's just a little easier. There's less going on. So one at a time, you're going to plug in, we'll start with 5 halves minus 2, right? So, well, we need a common denominator. So that'll be 2, so negative 4 over 2. And we would get negative 9 over 2, right? And how we would write our answer would be, well, when we plugged in other words, when x was 5 over 2, y came out to being negative 9 over 2. That's one of our answers. But we actually have to do it twice because we have two x values. So again, this time I'm going to plug in a negative 1. And I think we would also get negative 1, which means when x is negative 1, so is y. That would be our point. These two are our answers. All right? So we have to solve to get x and then take each x that we get and plug them back in to figure out their corresponding y values. All right? Let's look at the next one. Same process. First thing you ask yourself, both equations are set to y already, right? They both read y equals. So if that's the case, we just take each equation and we set them equal to one another. So it doesn't matter which way, you bring the terms to either side. I just like to keep the x squared term positive. So again, I'm going to subtract 4x. I'm going to subtract 4. It's going to look similar to the last question, but let's see. We got negative 5x and minus 3. So again, we got prime numbers, which means if this is factorable, it's pretty easy to determine. Look, know that your signs are going to be different here, okay, because the last term's negative. So I think a 3 would go here and a 1 would go here, right? And negative and positive. And why is that? Well, again, FOIL, quick, just give it a quick thought, right? Think about it in your heads. Negative 6 plus 1, yep, that gives me negative 5 and negative 3, right? Okay, we're solving. So we get negative 1/2 and we get positive 3. Not our answers. Okay, so many times when students do these problems, they think, oh, we're done at this point. But all we found is the x coordinates where this happens. Okay, we need to now go and find, well, what's the value of y when x is 1/2? So it makes the most sense to probably use the line, right? Because it's easier to plug x in and solve than it would be for the quadratic. So I'm going to plug in negative 1/2, and that would give me negative 2 plus 4. So that gives me 2. All right, so again, when x is negative 1/2, we got the y value to be 2. And then I would do it again. Same thing, plug in using the same equation, this time plugging in 3. 12 gives us 16. So I can't stress enough is that your answers are points. All right. Now, there's not always going to be 2 points because as I illustrated up top, you could have a parabola and a line that only intersects, at 1 point. Okay. Which would mean when you solved, you would only get 1 x value, not 2. Okay. All right, this will be the last one that we do. Okay, so you'll notice that this equation right here is not set to y equals, right? And that's what I keep saying. I said make sure both equations are set to y. So before we just kind of get right to it, we got to do a little work here. And I'm going to bring the y this way, and I'll add the 4 over here, right? So I think that would give me what? 2x plus 4 equals y. All right, so add y, add 4. Yep. Now that both equations are set equal to y, we can take those equations and set them equal to one another. All right. After that, you group like terms, which means bring everything to one side and get your equation set to 0. Okay. Factored. Okay, not pretty easy factoring there. We're going to solve for x. So we got x to equal 3 and negative 1. And look, you can go into any equation you want. I just wouldn't waste my time going into this. That wouldn't make sense. You would either go here or here. Regardless, you're going to get the same value. So I'll just plug 3 into this one here because that's not too bad, right? 3 squared plus 1 is just 10. 9 plus 1 is 10, which means our answer is not 10. It's 3 comma 10, right? It's a point. It's made up of x and y. And I'll do the same thing with negative 1. I'll square it. We'll add 1. And that will get us 2. All right. So what I'm expecting you guys to do today. And this is an Ed puzzle, so I'll be able to give you credit and check to see who did or did not watch it. Is to watch this video. All right, it's not too long. Watch the video, take notes on those 3 problems, pause it if you need to as you go through, and if you care to, if you want, I'll also post. This document will be inside of Classroom. All right, and what you could do in preparation for tomorrow's class, okay, is scroll down and see where I have homework written. You can do these 4 problems. Serves as a little bit of a review. You could solve by factoring, solve by using square roots, solve by completing the square, and then the last question is solving a system like we just took notes on today in class. All right, so I'm not going to make that mandatory. So you're not going to see this as like a posted assignment. It would just be something to kind of get you a little bit ahead of tomorrow's class. All right. So, and it serves as good practice. Okay. You could probably watch the video and do those problems before 11:55 when class would end. All right, guys. So hope everybody enjoyed all the snow last night. Let me know if anyone has any questions. Shoot me an email. I will talk to you later on.